Uh, all right, Marty. I started a little early to make sure you could stay outside today.
Oh, I'm always going to be outside. I'm going all winter long. It's
Yeah.
beautiful tonight.
Yeah, it is pretty good. Like
Yeah,
the weather's been I went for a couple walks today, so it
yeah,
was it was nice enough to walk twice.
yeah.
So, yeah. How was your weekend?
It was awesome. I had three guys and their wives, all from Loras College guys that I've known for 40 years. One from Las Vegas, two from Chicago. They came out to this little podunk town, and we had a lot of fun. Went to
Oh
the
yeah,
tree.
they
Yeah, we went to the tree farm. We went to the Christmas parade. Went downtown Rockton. We went to the Velvet Buffalo, which is an Italian restaurant in Beloit, and the food was absolutely phenomenal. And then today, one of the guy who was from Vegas, who's a pilot for Southwest, Kevin McLaughlin, we went to Zen up in Beloit, had sushi, and it was, I'm telling you, it's one of the best hidden gems there is. That place is
now
great.
is that the one right across the street from the Flying Pig?
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I've
It's
I've
a
been there.
great place. So we went
And
there.
I've been to the Velvet Buffalo too, right? You go downstairs. There's a downstairs too.
No,
I thought there was a
the Velvet Buffalo
downstairs.
has a rooftop bar,
Oh, okay.
and
Maybe I
then
haven't
it's
been there yet.
yeah. But they're, I mean, they've turned it totally Italian, and I mean these. I got some high end friends from Chicago. They just absolutely loved it.
Oh,
So it was really cool.
great. You took them out,
The whole
wined and dined them.
Yeah, the whole town, the downtown in Beloit is just incredible, and it's a great
Yeah.
place to walk and see things. It's cool.
Yeah, it's growing up there a lot.
Yeah,
I've been
and
up I've been up there a few times this
it's
summer.
like
So.
2.5 miles from my house.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. So are you watching any wrestling?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched a
Cliff
bunch of
Keen,
wrestling. Yeah, I watched Iowa wrestle Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania. I watched Illinois wrestle uh, Pittsburgh. Right? Yeah, that wasn't so hot. That was a little bit of a struggle. Uh, Cliff
I,
Keen, I watched David Carr get beat. It's just, I mean, it's just crazy. I watched Lehigh yesterday wrestle Penn State. I don't think anybody's going to touch Penn State this year. I think it's pretty well a done deal. But
yeah, I watched they didn't some of their middleweights, Levi Haynes, he looked like he was a little injured, not in shape yet,
yeah,
but he still won.
right.
Their lightweights, Nagao, the starting 125 pounder wasn't in. They had somebody else. And yeah, I was curious why he was out. I forget his name. Either way, and I went to the Wisconsin duel
No,
against
did you? I watched
Bucknell.
that too. It was a great
Yeah,
environment, isn't it?
yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Wisconsin has some holes. They're gonna have they're gonna struggle. I think um, they're
I think them and Illinois are going to be a great duel.
yeah, yeah, they are gonna. I wonder when they wrestle. I'm gonna go back up to Wisconsin against Ohio State.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm friends with the 125 pounder from Wisconsin. I think he's really tough. He's a two-time All-American, um, very good wrestler. Uh, and yeah, I'm looking forward to. He didn't have a good match against Iowa State, but he said he was sick that week, and he's just finally getting back. You know, I talked
Uh,
to a lot of guys lately, some high school kids too. That obviously, um, with the seasons and everything, it's so hard to be healthy, right? Like whether you're
yeah.
cutting weight and get sick or you just get sick. And holidays, obviously, that last week I couldn't really get on the podcast. I just didn't feel like it. Same thing for me. So yeah, he said he wasn't feeling great for that match with the Iowa State 25 pounder, but he looked good the other day. So I'm excited to see how he does against some tougher Big Ten competition coming up.
Oh, I love watching Wisconsin in the field house. It's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a little bar right down the street that we always park at. We go to quite a few of them. I mean, we watch. I mean, I almost watched almost all that duel this weekend. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I love wrestling. I mean, I love college wrestling. I love high school wrestling. Hononegah wrestled St. Charles East this weekend. You know, scored
Yeah.
some
I
points.
saw the,
Did all right. The goal if you're going to try to be a state place winner as a team, you can't get pinned. And
yeah.
I think they gave up 6 pins in the duel.
And one of them was by a returning state champ. So
Yeah,
that's it. I obviously I wish we could watch all these matches, but it all comes down to broadcasting stuff. But
Yeah. Do you even know what happened in that match?
no, I don't. Do you know?
No, it took me for you're the only way I found out the damn results today.
Oh,
Your Northern Illinois Wrestling. I went to their school. I went to our school. I went to
well,
paper, and you're the only person that gave the results.
yeah. Well, thank Tyler. Tyler emailed me yesterday the results because I was on track and they didn't have the results on track yet. So Tyler emailed me the results, so I posted them. So thank you,
That's awesome.
Tyler.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. Man, that's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, he, again, like you said, like we need people to communicate so we can get it out there. As funny
Right.
as one of the local teams, I won't throw them under the bus quite yet, but they made a flyer for their schedule, but their schedule's wrong now. Like they made a flyer. Somebody put the time and effort into making the flyer, but it like three of the dates are wrong. So yeah, it was good that Tyler sent that to me. I was really appreciative of that. And he sent along with that Brody wrestled Noah Quintana, I think his last name was.
Yeah, he's a
From
place winner last year, right?
Yeah, senior and ranked fourth in the state. So yeah, Brody's looking pretty good as far as
What
putting
was the score
himself
of
in
that match?
position. I think it was pretty made 12-4, so major decision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
yeah, you wrestled really well. So yeah, they're on obviously those guys. They have a couple kids going to the Ironman, which is interesting, huh?
Right. That means
Yeah,
they're gonna have to set out probably right. Or no, they can just work that right into their.
yeah, they can do as many as they want.
Yeah, they can do. Yeah.
The
Are they?
tournaments, the tournaments don't matter, right? You can do as many
Who's going to the
tournaments.
Iron Man? Do you know?
Um, let me check. He did text me
Both the
that.
Cassiopes.
Uh, just give me 1 second. Rocco, Bruno, TJ, and Gina will be at the Ironman.
Awesome.
So I wonder if they're having a girls division.
They must have a girls division. That's good.
Well, that would be busy. That gym is packed. Maybe
And
they
it's a
are
miniature gym.
expanding. Yeah, they might have expanded it. I think they do have a field house now
Okay.
at that gym.
That's
I think
awesome for those kids,
yeah, every school is getting a field house. So
right?
yeah.
Nothing quite
Yeah,
like our.
it's awesome that they're going out there because I think just bringing just being able to send a few kids to bigger tournaments. One thing I was talking to Gene about is having a tournament. You can now, instead of thinking like bring your whole team, you can look at your, each weight class and say, oh, we have 3 spots in this weight class and 3 in this weight class and 3 in this weight class. And then you can reach out to teams that have maybe they have 3 kids that are really good varsity wrestlers, and then the other ones aren't necessarily ready for it, right? Like, how many kids should be going to the Dvorak from Harlem this year, right? Like, I mean, they're hosting the tournament, but their squad isn't necessarily that good this year. So it's like, I just think it's interesting that you can pick and choose how many wrestlers you send to tournaments. I think it's a good thing.
You do. See, I think it's a horrible thing.
Well, it's just I'm saying, what if
And
you?
only because of the team dynamics that I believe in.
But what if there's What if there's 3 or 4 kids on the team that are gonna go 0-2 and sit there at the tournament the whole
You're going
weekend?
to learn to get better.
Yeah,
You're going
but
to watch.
that tournament itself misses out on those 3 spots being filled by more competitive athletes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the idea of like leveling the playing field. Like I
Oh,
remember when
you know what?
dude,
Hey, yeah, I'd love to bring those kids to the Iron Man, but we're bringing everybody. We're
yeah,
bringing all
but
14 kids.
Marty, I remember so you remember my teams at Belvedere.
Mm-hmm.
That so 06 and 05, my junior and senior season. I think I looked this up. We had maybe 3 total wins in dual meets my junior and senior year. We were not very good, right? But I was pretty good.
Yeah.
And at the Cheesehead was a pool tournament. So no matter how you did, you wrestled 5 times.
Yeah. You
And
wrestle
there
to your
were
ability.
Yeah, but there were a couple kids on our team that just got like destroyed 5 times in a row. And
Yeah.
it was just one of those things that maybe they didn't need to go, is what
Yeah,
I'm
they needed
saying.
to go.
They could have went to the Byron
No,
JV
they did not.
tournament.
No, they needed to go. They were a varsity team member. They needed to go. That's what's wrong with our society is we're trying to coddle people. No,
Well, I
those
wouldn't
kids
even
need to
say that that's
wrestle.
coddling.
Oh,
You
yes,
don't
it
think
is.
that you think it's coddling to tell a kid that he's not good enough to send him to a
Well,
more apt tournament?
I would never tell a kid he's not good enough. That's why we were good because I told every kid they were great. I mean,
Well, I
they're
guess
not.
I would agree with you in the sense that if we're talking about 3 classes, right? I don't like the 3 class model
Neither
because
do I.
why have a tournament that says you're a state champion when, you know, there's 2 other brackets that maybe you couldn't even place in, right? So I'm definitely with you in the sense that I don't like structured competition, handicapping, right, if you will,
Mhm.
right? Like I don't necessarily care for that, but I definitely think that some kids they don't necessarily, not all kids learn from getting their butt whipped, right? Some kids do, but not all of them do. I think you can, I think some kids you could take to a tournament and get whooped twice, and maybe they'll go get motivated from it. But I also think that some kids um, don't need to go get beat twice and sit all weekend in a gym
I had
because
one open weight
maybe they
in
didn't
my
want to.
entire 20 years or 21 years of coaching. I had one open weight. It was at 106 pounds, and I had nobody. But there was this freshman who was pretty. He never wrestled before. So after practice on Thanksgiving, we always used to take all of our lower level kids down to Jefferson, and they wrestled. And this kid won every match, and he was just like kind of a guy grinding, but he was wrestling 112 then. So I'm going, well, I walk up to him and I said, what do you weigh in at? Well, first of all, I got the weight sheet and I looked at it and he weighed like 109 pounds. Like, what do you weigh in? And he goes, I weigh 109. I said, well, do you want to wrestle varsity this week? He goes, yeah, I'd love to. I said, you got to weigh 106. He goes, I'll see you at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday. Okay. You know who that person was? Bobby Marasco. Remember Bobby?
Yeah,
Yeah. Bobby Marasco never put a wrestling shoe or anything and wrestled varsity and won like 17 matches during his freshman year. And we wrestled
yeah,
good teams.
yeah. That's good.
Yeah, you gotta just, you know what? If you make them believe it, it's just, I mean, I'm a diehard believer of it being a team because that's what we
Yeah.
were, and the great kids were always going to be great.
No, I mean, I'm with you on most of it. I agree. I mean, when we're talking about the Iron Man specifically, um, I just
Yeah, it would
it's
be great.
a
I just
it's a
want to take
national
everybody with
tournament.
me if I was still
Yeah,
coaching. Be like, we're all coming.
yeah.
I guarantee you, you look up that Iron Man tournament. There's an open weight somewhere in every single weight class, just because, right?
If there was an open weight, I would definitely argue to just take somebody.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think that everybody actually the only thing I would push back is I don't even think that they reach out to teams and say that they have a full opening, like 14 weight classes.
No, they're just looking for really good
Yeah.
kids.
I think they're looking for a select individual
Right.
that fills
Yeah,
the weight class.
I get that.
Yeah, so either way, they're going there. We're going Thursday to Belvedere, Hononegah versus Belvedere. Next week, um, I'm gonna go out to see Josh Alber, see him run practice and catch up with him. He's gonna come on the podcast, and just yeah, I have a couple things lined up to go for the next couple weeks, and then I mean before you know it, we'll be in January, which is
Right? Isn't it? Isn't
insane,
it crazy?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking
it's
forward to
good.
the Dvorak. I'm looking forward to the Dvorak.
Yeah,
I really
Dvorak
am.
is December 16th.
Is it?
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, that I'm really looking forward to it too. I'm gonna reach out and see what type of um, situation they have as far as like the media um, component and what they do for it. I know it's a little bit more complicated. They put it on track and sometimes they broadcast it, but I love it that it's in our backyard. We
Right.
recently they just had the kids tournament at Byron, and somebody posted that there were, over 750 kids into it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing as far as the tournament, but the fact that there's that many youth wrestling,
Yeah.
youth wrestlers going around, that's a good thing.
I agree.
Yeah, I
100%.
think it from what it sounds, I think there's a lot of activity in wrestling this season right now. And I think that there's some things that I really hope that we can do um collectively to like keep them, right? Like this is not the first year that they've had tons of youth wrestling uh, athletes, but um, I think this is the first time we can try to like learn from the past and keep them involved, if that
Right.
makes sense. Figure
Yeah.
out how to maintain um, those numbers throughout high school, because obviously right now high school numbers are decent, but they're not. Every team has 70 kids. That's not
Right.
the situation. It's easy. I think it's pretty easy to get a kid in wrestling, mostly because if you convince the parent, you have the kid. But in high school, you have to convince both the parent and the athlete to be involved. Because like we've talked about, it's such a time commitment. It's such a sacrifice on weekdays and weekends and holidays, and so high school, it's a lot harder to keep people engaged throughout the season or throughout the 4 years that they go through it. So, but I think we're at a good point. I think it's a good time in the wrestling uh journey, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said before, I mean, I couldn't find results except for you. If you didn't have that stuff posted, I'd be losing my head trying to figure out what I went to the Hononegah website. I went to St. Charles website, everything. I mean, I saw scores, but I wanted to see bouts. I wanted to see who won,
Yeah.
who got pinned, or whatever. And those mega duels are great. I mean, it's a great thing to start the year off with because there's some tough teams there.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hononegah did pretty well. They're you just got to the whole thing with duels is you can't get pinned. You're only as good as your worst wrestler in a duel.
Yeah. Yep. No, and obviously TJ lost to a returning state finalist,
Oh, he
Tyler.
was.
Yeah, he got second in the state last year, I believe. He lost to um uh blanking on the name. He wrestled. I'm not gonna try. Yeah, but he was a state champion, so he lost to a defending state finalist. But again, this 3A. This is what I'm saying. Like, there are small differences between the single A and the 3A,
Yeah,
but they're big. They're small little technical things,
yeah,
but they're very very big. To get pinned is saying a lot. I wish I knew what happened. Maybe I'll reach out and find out more. But
yeah.
uh,
Because he only lost one match last year, and that was the kid from St. Charles East at the Dvorak in the finals.
yeah,
And then he's already lost twice this year, which is, I mean, it's great. I mean, there's
yeah,
nothing wrong
it's
with that. I mean, he's wrestling tough kids. It's great competition. Plus, he's going to the Dvorak or going to the Ironman too. So, I
yeah,
mean, that's great.
yeah.
I mean, that's what you want.
Yeah, you have plenty of time to redeem yourself and get yourself back. Talking about that coaching aspect, I saw something yesterday that I'm not going to really get into, but um, how hard is it or how important is it to coach kids? And I know this, I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you because you've coached for so many years. But how important it is to coach a kid through adversity, through those losses, to believe that the next match could be different. Like the next match could be different.
It's not just wrestling losses, it's cutting weight, it's family matters, it's everything that you have to. The ability to be a really good coach is to recognize when a kid's struggling, because sometimes they don't just show it. Sometimes those kids that have been wrestling for a while are just they just don't have that, but you can see it in them, and yeah. I mean, I thought I was as a coach, I thought I was really good at seeing kids when they were struggling and trying to build their confidence up, and just it's unbelievably because there's nobody unless you've wrestled and have been in a wrestling room and have been doing it for a long time. Nobody understands how tough it is on the kid, not just mentally, but physically too. And you got to be able to see those kids that are struggling a little bit because you don't need them during the middle of the year. You need them at the end of the year. I mean, you need them. You need them to peak at the end of the year. There's a lot of coaches that don't get that, how you can get kids to peak and how you slack off a little bit, maybe give them a half hour off of practice what they don't even know it. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, we're gonna just go till 5 o'clock. You guys wrestle hard, we'll go till 5. I mean, that right there is enough to, get them motivated or just whatever they need. Put your arm around them. Jim Powell was one of my assistant coaches, and he was so good at that. He knew a kid was struggling, and we used to call him Grandpa Jim, because he was like a kid's grandpa, and he would put their arm around him and talk to him and stuff. I mean, I had one of the best coaching staffs you could ever ask for, so they everybody bought in. But you're right, it's a thing that it's not just coaching; it's also the human aspect of it and what's going on in those kids' lives.
Yeah. No, well, yeah, yeah, I think it's interesting. Like coaching to me is more about mentorship. Like wrestling, I think you kind of find it, right? Like you need a good coach or I would say a good organizer is somebody who puts together a plan, runs practice, keeps things in motion, again, just getting kids engaged in the process of like development. But the season is a like, what they call it. It's a vision quest, right? Like, and
Totally.
and the vision quest doesn't just come from motivations on the mat, right? Like, as you know, like there's so many things that happen throughout the season that might have nothing to do with the wrestling, but it takes their focus away from wrestling and distracts them, or whatever it is. And as a coach, you have to like really start to understand and empathize with people's potential situation and know that it can't just be about winning. But
Right.
winning can be a very important part in their mental development outside of the whatever problem they're enduring, right? Or going on with whatever their mindset is happening, whatever is happening with their mind. Winning can help them kind of like make sense of it, but it can't be the only goal, if that makes sense.
Right. Oh, it's totally. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's a, it's kind of a gift I mean, if you want to have really good kids and you want kids to be good leaders in life, you got to treat them like, you got to give them the respect and you got to help them. I mean, it doesn't take much to break somebody in a sport of wrestling.
Yeah.
You got to,
Well, forget about the sport. It doesn't take much to break people. I mean,
in general, it's
life,
life.
yeah, life is challenging, and
It
and
is.
and and you know, uh, people break often, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part with wrestling. Sometimes with coaches, they get so fixated on the outcome as far as results are concerned, they forget that every single person in wrestling outside of Cal Sanderson and a couple others have had setbacks and failures.
Yeah.
One of the things I think makes myself I think I'm a better coach because I lost important matches. I think I'm better because of that, because I recognize now as an older man that it's like the loss was devastating, but my identity is not wrapped up in the loss. I am not a loser because I lost. It just happened to be that I lost to somebody who was better that day, right? Like
Right.
it's just one of those things that like losing helped me forget about caring so much about winning. I like to win. I'm a competitive guy, but at the end of the day, like, if it doesn't go your way, you got to walk it off and just go back at it the next time.
When you go
Uh,
out to the wrestling world, which there is a wrestling world, there truly is. There's a whole dynamics of wrestling. You walk out there, they don't walk out and say, "Hey, Dalton, how you doing? Remember when you lost those matches?"
yeah,
No, they
yeah,
go, "Hey, Dalton, what's going on? How's it going? How's life going now? What are you doing? Remember all those matches that you won?" I've never had one person ever walk up to me and go, "Hey, Marty, what's going on? Remember when you lost that semifinal duel match to Carl Sandburg in the state dual meet finals?" They're like, "Marty, remember when you took fourth place? Remember where this that?"
yeah,
They never say anything bad as long as you make it through.
yeah.
You
Well,
you
not just
you
make
make
it through. I think
you
I think
make
the
that process.
Yeah, and I think the important thing that I've learned is that how did you make people feel when they watched you compete, right? So,
Yeah.
that has done way more. There's been multiple times where somebody brought up a match that I lost, but the way that they brought it up was that they were impressed at how I competed,
And how
even
you
though I
carried yourself.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the effort, attitude, and intensity and stuff, yeah, it's all that stuff's like uh is what people remember, and in general, it's the only thing that really matters. I mean, some people, Chael Sonnen,
Yeah.
he talks about this a lot. In the game of athletics, oftentimes we want the person who's worked the hardest and spent the most hours training to win, but that's not necessarily how it works out.
Not even
Um,
close.
sometimes sometimes people are just better,
Yeah.
and um, that's what really messed me up in high school, is like I couldn't imagine somebody outworked me and I still couldn't win. Um, but that's just not how it works, you know.
No.
But you just do it anyways. You put forth the effort anyways, because yeah, I mean, it's just that's the way that's why you do it. So
Yeah. I haven't had too many kids come up to me and say, "Hey, who wrestled for me?" I said, "You know what? You were a jerk. You were an asshole." Most of them were like, "Marty, you helped me out a lot in life." Yeah, not just in wrestling, but and that's why I had a wrestling coach that was like that. The only thing he just wasn't quite the hammer that I was, but he was just a great human being, and that's the main reason I started coaching was him.
yeah,
Jim Geyer, if anybody knows, he's an awesome man.
that was your coach
Yep,
back in
West Union, Iowa,
West Union.
1980 to 83. Yep, it was a wrestling powerhouse area. Almost every kid that was really good wrestled for Iowa. It was nuts Northeast Iowa wrestling back then.
Yeah,
It
well,
was
it's getting. I
brutal.
mean, can't imagine it's worse than it was. It's probably getting better, don't you think?
I don't know. The
Is that
towns are
population growing or
No, the
staying the
towns are
same?
getting smaller. A lot of
Okay.
schools are co-oping. Yeah, I mean,
So
they're
industry is going south, like southwest.
yeah, yeah. Well,
I got
we're
you.
just. I mean, the closest town for us to go to a mall is like Waterloo, Iowa. It's over an hour away.
Yeah, it is interesting how that works, right? Like jobs and careers and
Yeah,
money filter somewhere else, and then the people just have to leave, and it either gets smaller or bigger, right? You,
yeah.
you can be in a
It's still one of the best towns to ever grow up with, and one of my best friends from there, Bill Nutting, who was never a wrestler. He was actually a basketball player, great basketball player. He used to come with me on the bus to tournaments. He would come watch us for a weekend. I'm like, why don't you ride a bus with us? And he'd come with us. And that lasted like twice. And he's like, no way in hell will I ever get on another bus again and go through weigh-ins and wait 3 hours before wrestling starts. But yeah, he came to so many of our meets. I can name a name and he knows who they are. And that's just small town great people. And he's one of the best.
yeah. Well, speaking of small towns, you know what I forgot to bring up, and I really wanted to talk to you about them. Last week I went to the Rochelle duel. Did you
Yeah,
get to see any of the highlights from
I
that
did.
duel?
Yeah,
They beat Lena Winslow, who was ranked number 2, but both Lena and Rochelle, who are ranked, got beat by Dixon. So I'm working on talking to I think Micah Hay is the head coach of Dixon. And but Rochelle, I was out in Rochelle, and it was a fun duel. They had a lot of people out. I think they sent back that they had about 1,100 people show up for the duel.
that's awesome.
Um, yeah, it was really cool. And I spent some more time talking to the Rochelle coaches. And I'm a big Rochelle fan. I think they have a young coaching staff that has just a great attitude, and I think they have a good group of kids that can kind of like uh, develop a core um, culture, I guess. They like wrestling. I went to the practice. The kids like it. Like they're in it. They're having fun working hard. Um, like I said, Nelson Baker, Tyler Baker. I grew up wrestling in the same area as Tyler Baker. He was at Stillman when I was at Belvedere, same age. Nelson, I don't really know, but now I do. He's younger, obviously brothers with Nolan Baker, the the big time Greco guy,
Mhm.
Northern Illinois wrestler, and Bruno is Alfonso Bruno is the head coach who wrestled at Sandwich. But they're all young guys, but they all have like a really like likable attitude, right? Like they have likable personalities, and yeah, I'm a big Hubs fan. I don't know what a hub is, but
It's a hub. It's a
I'm
part of the wheel. It's a wheel. It's a
is it
cog in
really
the
that?
wheel.
That's what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Well, who came up with that
Well,
as a mascot?
I think it's part of the railroad system, and the
Okay,
railroad runs right through Rochelle.
I got you.
Yeah, you know
No,
that
no, I
Micah.
mean,
You mentioned Micah Hay. He wrestled. I think he beat Brad Schrader in the sectional finals, and then Brad
okay,
ended up winning state. Yeah, there was two Hay brothers, I think. So
yeah,
yeah, I mean that's awesome. I mean, and did
yeah.
he have good numbers too?
Well, I haven't talked to the Dixon coaches quite yet, but I think they must have pretty good numbers because they had enough of a lineup to beat Lena
Both of them.
Winslow and Rochelle,
Yeah,
and Rochelle's pretty good. So I don't know their whole weight classes, like the weight classes that they have holes in, they put kids out there. They didn't have forfeits.
right.
I think they gave up one forfeit, and they didn't have to. They wouldn't have had to if they were really trying to win the duel, I think. But they kind of ran away with it. Um, but yeah, you know who else I was talking to? I was talking to Terry Giardini, and he was telling me that he refed a duel in Dixon High School against Iowa and Northwestern, I think. Were you around for that?
I was probably around, but yeah,
He
maybe
said
who?
it was in the 80s, late
Yeah.
80s, I want to say.
Well, I came in the late. I came in '88, so that
Okay.
might have been before my time. Must have been a couple of kids that wrestled either from Dixon or a couple of kids that wrestled from what'd you say, Rochelle?
No, no,
Dixon and
no,
who
I'm
else?
saying it was at Dixon High School. They hosted a duel between Iowa and I think Northwestern.
Okay, maybe they had Northwestern or Iowa had a couple of kids in their lineup that were from the area, right?
Yeah, maybe, or Iowa didn't want to drive all the way to Chicago. They're like, hey, we'll duel you, but you got to
Yeah, come to Rochelle.
come to Rochelle because that's a good trip. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to think about the University of Iowa wrestling in a high school gym.
Yeah,
Obviously, Iowa State's doing it. Man, I wish we could organize uh, a situation like that, right? Even if it was Northern Illinois versus Illinois, I mean, what
right.
better? That'd be fun. Um, that'd be a fun duel to watch, especially this year. I mean, at this point, I think it might be a good duel. I don't really know Northern Illinois' lineup, but I know Illinois is not. They don't have 10 um, All Americans right
No,
now.
they got some
So
kids that are redshirting though too. So
yeah. I think a lot of teams. I saw Wisconsin had a couple that were doing the Olympic red shirt.
yeah,
I'm starting to not like it actually. I don't actually like the Olympic red shirt because I'm looking at some of these lineups and the team, and I go, but why isn't this team as good as it? Why I don't know how it benefits. Obviously in their eyes they think it's the best opportunity to make the Olympics, I guess. But is it? Is it the best opportunity to make the Olympics if you're junior in college, or are you just trying to get an extra year of eligibility?
right, exactly.
But I was talking,
Trying to wait out a couple really good wrestlers that will graduate and be gone.
yeah, and I kind of don't like that. I kind of like the idea of just like, not, I don't know. I just was a little frustrated because I was like, the lineup was not as good as it could have been. And it's like, well, why not then? Right. And, I was having this conversation too with Coach Marinetti. I called the other day, and we were talking about how some college coaches are, potentially trying to keep their job, right? And I was like, really? Are they? Like, are they losing their job if they don't have a certain number of All-Americans? Because why do they have an All-American sitting for the Olympic red shirt? Like, how do you get them in? And
Right,
with these, and to be honest, you go, how do you get a kid to stay in the lineup as opposed to doing an Olympic red shirt? Well, I mean, NIL is an opportunity, right? Like, why can't you? I don't know. All I'm thinking about is the fact that I don't like it's not the best team in the wrestling room. So I just don't think taking a year off and waiting until next year would be positive. I don't know.
I don't
But
sure. I mean, I guess I don't. I agree with you. I don't know how they think that's going to help them make the Olympic team. I mean, unless they're traveling out to the training center in Colorado Springs, or if you're a Greco guy, you're wrestling Greco every single day. But other than that, I mean, a lot of wrestling still somewhat Greco. That's hand
yeah.
fighting at the finest. You know,
And it almost seems like especially freestyle at least. Obviously, I think you're right. If you're doing Greco, I almost think that you should just not do college wrestling, I guess. Or wait until you're done, I guess, because all the freestyle guys that make the world team, they win the NCAA tournament. So
right,
I mean,
all of them.
um, yeah, I don't know. I was just don't I don't know, just don't get that, it helps your team from a recruiting standpoint, from a market standpoint. Like you're not making the best product available. And right now that's all we're talking about is how to make the best product at the Division I level. So I don't know. I noticed that there's a lot of Olympic red shirts this year.
Yeah,
And
always is
yeah,
during that calendar year for the Olympics.
yeah. But it makes sense, I guess, on some situations. Like, I mean, but yeah, I can't think of any because we're so good at the freestyle level right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's like it's almost like you don't even have a shot. Like, you know, because who I don't get it. I just don't get it. I think it's like you're gonna beat Jason Knopf
Right,
like as a sophomore in college that didn't win a national title. Like,
right.
what are you doing, dude? He's gonna win he's gonna beat you in the trials.
That's because
Right.
they're just a smidge older men, and
Yeah.
I think your prime in wrestling is like that 28 to 30-year-old guys that are freaking like prime
Yeah.
freestyle wrestlers. I mean, you're not going to learn just by taking a year off. You got to be there. You got to do it year round when you're a man.
Yeah.
You
No,
know.
it definitely and talking about all the things that we talked about before, like psychology and stuff, like as I got older, I became a better wrestler without even thinking about the wrestling stuff. Just my
Right.
mental maturity
Right.
started to come together and I was like, "Oh, okay. Now I understand this stuff." It's not like becoming a stressful distraction. It's
Right.
actually like understood. So yeah, I mean, yeah, you're definitely going to be in a better position to compete 25 to 28. I think 25 to 28 is probably the real sweet spot. Um, even though I feel awesome right now at 36, I think 28
Well,
is a little
Go to
better.
the U.S. Open. Wrestle there. It's coming up.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I don't know how,
When
but
you're
I'm
now,
going to.
you're saying, okay, wait a second. You're
Okay.
saying this, and there's other people that are probably watch this podcast. So you got to stand by what you're going to say. You
Yeah,
got
I don't
that?
care.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to hear what you got.
Well, what I'm thinking about is the idea of competing. Well, one, I don't even know if you'd call it competing, but to wrestle in front of other people, right? Because that's what competition is, I guess. But one match, right? Like I've been talking to, people like Steve Dwyer and some other people and say, hey, would you wrestle? And then I talked to some other individuals recently about like what if we had like an old timer card where we put some people together in a match that have been around, that they've wrestled in the past. Are they capable of wrestling again? I don't know if I want to wrestle 5 times in a day. You go to the US Open the
Ah,
next week, I wouldn't be able to like
walk.
move.
Right.
But if you said, hey, you're going to wrestle one match, I'll do that. That's not hard at all. But the 5 in a row, that might be
Well,
difficult.
the nice thing too about freestyle is if it's mercy, you're teched in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, you just start doing a
Yeah.
barrel
You don't
roll.
even get your heart rate up because they freaking flopped you around like a fish out of water.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Greco. I mean, I've got some bad stories of, I got teched in Greco, I think my junior year in high school. McNames could tell you. I got teched in about 17 seconds. And that was a wild ride. But
Mm-hmm.
I beat the kid in freestyle. But yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm definitely open to it though, and I want to figure out how to put something together to just an event of some kind. But yeah, I'm always open to it, Marty. I just don't know who's the guy. Who's my Huckleberry?
Who would you have to wrestle against?
Yeah.
Yeah, throw
Who
Rob Finnicle. You and Rob Finnicle.
you want? Hey, get Rob. I'll wrestle Rob any day of the week.
He's
I think
always hurt though.
I'm still in Rob's head. He ain't getting me. But outside of that, you got anything? I know there's some other stuff that we could jump into. McNames is asking me if we're still on the podcast, but you're the one that's outside. I don't want to keep you too long.
Well, tell him we'll talk to him. What Thursday? No, we going Wednesday again?
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yeah, Wednesday.
tell Dan to come. We'll get it on Wednesday.
Yep. And we'll talk about some I think Wednesday will be a perfect time, especially if McNames is on to talk about some other topics, some hot topics. I know you're not following high school wrestling, are you?
Yeah, I am.
But are you just following the results? You're not in the ecosystem. Like you don't hear rumors and what's going on with this team and that team. Do
Well,
you
I
hear
never
any of
heard
that stuff?
rumors when I was coaching.
Okay.
So what's the
Well,
rumor?
well, there's a lot of things going on right now with recruiting, with private schools getting investigated. Um, and kids aren't getting opportunity to wrestle right now. So it's creating some chatter, some good chatter. I think all good conflict is somewhat good. I think people need to have conflict to work their problems out. But I also think that there's some bad stuff coming if certain things happen, if that makes sense.
Well, it doesn't happen
guess,
here because it's all the Catholic schools in Chicago and all the
what's
private.
that?
I said it's obviously happening in Chicago because that's where everything evolves with the Catholic schools and the private.
Yeah.
Schools.
Well, it definitely has less to do with people out here, but Marty, this is the interesting thing. The private schools are not the only schools that are trying to get kids to come to their school
Oh,
and
I get that.
lie.
Yeah, I know that.
There are a lot of public schools that are
Mhm.
acting as pseudo private schools.
Yes, they are.
And I think they've done that in the past. Obviously, there's been a few public schools that
Oh,
have
I
had
could name
some.
about 5 of them.
Yeah, and there are a few now that are there are a few that I think are potentially in they're going to get the negative consequences. So all of the kids that went to these private schools, if these kids at the private schools get in trouble, they're going to start, those people are going to go after the private schools that were doing the same stuff, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So it's going to be an interesting year. I don't think it's positive, to be honest. I personally don't care where people wrestle.
You want to know my philosophy?
Yeah,
I used to
sure.
love it. I used to love to go against those schools that were either private or even public. I wanted to wrestle them because I wanted to see if we could beat what we just had our normal kids, and I just wanted to see if we could beat them.
Yeah.
Not many times did we, but there's a few times we did.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
been
don't
going
you
on
think so?
forever.
No. Yeah, it's been going on forever. This is not a new thing. And I do like your perspective because I think it's misunderstood sometimes because you're a really competitive guy, right?
Right.
And you're never going to look at it as a as a disability, right? Like you're not. I remember you wanted to wrestle Saint Rita, right?
Yeah.
I remember that we
At
got them to
Belvedere.
Belvedere. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got them to come to Belvedere, and you guys wanted to do, like, you were looking for competition.
And I
You
wanted
weren't.
to move Steve Dwyer up to wrestle. What's his name that went to Oklahoma State? And they
Yeah.
wouldn't. They moved him up weight above.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Albert
whatever.
White.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted to go after people.
Yeah. So I think sometimes because you're such a proponent of the Hananiga public school, that sometimes it maybe people act, I guess what I'm saying is there are public schools out there right now that are looking at attacking other people from a disability standpoint, right? Like, we're not good enough to compete, they're cheating, so on and so forth. But I think if you were still coaching, you would have still put those people on the lineup or put them on the schedule to try to beat them.
Oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And we're lucky because I mean, we're quite a ways out and stuff like that. It'd be very difficult for kids to go to school, or parents would have to move or whatever. But I mean, it's, yeah, and it's rampant in freaking football too. They're
Yeah.
talking about how these schools just are killing everybody, and they should have their own, league of private schools. But I loved it, and those coaches are great guys. I mean, they have a different philosophy, and I do. I'd rather make my team than buy my team, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of them are still coaching them, but yeah, I get what you're saying because a lot of them aren't.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, and again, I think the hard part, I've talked to a lot of people about this, but it's interesting because um, I've seen the Hananiga system, um, from the inside, and it was like, wow, you really created from the ground up a way to get a lot of kids to find the Dwyers, to find the Latellas, to find the Morascos, to find the Finnacles. Like you created something that created hundreds of kids that then you found those kids, and developed those kids, right? Like creating an environment that they came out of it. So yeah, I think that yeah, it was just I wish more people would focus on the foundation, right?
right.
I think most people, most coaches, again, give them their due. Like high school coaching is busy. It's like almost like you never have time to do it. But the off season has to be set up to. And again, I was a high school coach, and I kind of failed at this because the parents are fucking crazy. So when you try to create the
Make sure you
foundation,
don't edit that out either. You're that's right. It's perfect. They can that's life.
well, I would try to create the foundation where you're just trying to get hundreds of kids to create a system around, and then they would just attack. They want to be in control. They want to be coaching. That I had the reason why I quit. I mean, I could tell you this, but the last year that I got over it, I had to fire coaches from the kids program that were dads because they weren't happy. So it's like, I'm not in this game to make you happy. I didn't even care about you from the beginning. And yeah, I think it can be challenging to build that foundation. And so oftentimes, if you're a high school coach and you're competitive, you just, yeah, rather get, just rather coach the kids that found their way to the top. Right.
Yeah.
Because as a coach, you just want to coach motivated athletes. You just want to find people that like to wrestle, like to work out, like to train, like to listen, like to follow directions, like to, you know, be coached, and you just coach them. Like you don't really care who they are.
No,
Um, so it's just hard to focus on the foundation stuff.
you'll have to keep filling me in on that whole thing, because I mean, I used to, I mean, so after, I mean, I'll tell you a story. I won't even tell you who they were. So it was our second year at state tournament, and we lost, and I can't remember who we lost. We lost to Edwardsville, and one of the coaches from another school from Chicago goes, "Hey, we need to get you on the schedule." I'm like, "That's perfect." I said, "We would love to wrestle you guys." He goes, you got like 5 or 6 kids that are graduating, and so do I. I said, it'll be a great dual meeting. He goes, "Oh, no, 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 we're rebuilding." I'm going, "Okay, yeah." And I guess it's one we're going to rebuilding. I got some kids coming up there. No, 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 we got kids coming in. And I'm going, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we got kids coming in." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't want to wrestle you then." That's all. That was the only time I said that to somebody, because he was blatantly telling me that's what they were doing. I mean, I knew they did it, but he blatantly told me. I'm like, "Yeah, we're not going to wrestle you."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially back then, right? Like I mean, even do you have an idea what year that was?
That would have been like 2006, 2007, in that area.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know.
And I think that's, that was when I was graduating. I think that was when it really started to, like, obviously the Mount Carmels and
Yeah,
Providences, they had been doing it way before.
yeah.
Um, but
Providence won 6 titles in a row.
yeah. And now they can't do anything,
Right.
which is crazy that they're not playing the game. Because
Well,
I really don't know why they're not playing the game.
all the kids that wrestled for them are somewhere else coaching now, playing the game.
Yeah, but I believe Donnie Reynolds is coaching at Providence.
Yeah.
And I don't believe he's playing the game, which is interesting. I'd love to talk to him about it and wonder,
Well,
what his.
their coach when they won 6 titles, I think it was Keith Healy, correct?
Yep, yeah,
Yeah,
Keith.
he was not only was he a great Catholic school coach, but he was a great man.
Yeah, I liked him. He was
Oh, I
always good.
loved him. I mean, he just was. I learned a lot from him too, just by talking to him. You know,
Yeah. Well,
because I
they
remember
tried to get me to go to Providence.
he did.
Yeah, well, he didn't. Healy didn't. The couple of the team members did.
We'd go in there and we'd wrestle them on a Friday night before the mega duels. It'd be us and them and Marian Catholic, and we would always get beat. But our JV would kick the shit out of their JV kids, and I'm like, all right, next year we got him. Next year we got him. I finally figured out what the hell was going on. I was kind of naive.
Yeah. Your JV was good, but not good enough to
Yeah,
get the
not good
the, the
enough to.
incoming wrestlers.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and so here, I'd love to hear your perspective, and we'll finish up on this. So, how do you think you approach it now with the unique difference of college wrestling not only just being an opportunity for college scholarship, but now with name, image, likeness, with the transfer portal, with all the changes in the UFC, the MMA,
Yeah.
the cards in the off season. Brett Metcalf said he made, I forget what he said, maybe $30,000 doing cards, like doing an off season card once. Now it's going to be higher, right? Like the ESPN deal, like all these things are continuing to ramp up and bring large amounts of money in it. Like, what's your perspective on kids chasing the opportunity that is the financial reward that is real now, that wasn't there, say 10 years ago?
It's nuts because I'm like sitting out here right now when I doing it outside, but I got my TV in the living room. I keep looking at it. It's on ESPN. How many football players are already in the portal? Because like
Yeah.
today was like the first day.
Yeah, I
And
saw Ohio State and stuff.
yeah, there's great quarterbacks and running backs. They're all, it's just like I don't. It's to me, I think it's horrible. I do. I mean, I believe that there's a thing called loyalty and being consistent, and
But
you know,
again, before you get into this, I really want you to think about it, because when you say that, and this is the same thing we talked about when Draheim was on,
yeah,
I watched a coach. Okay, now I'm kind of giving it away. I watched a coach look at a kid and wish that he had a replacement for that kid, because that kid didn't perform at the highest level. If a coach is going to take a job, like if we're talking football, okay, I'll
yeah,
use this example. Ohio State's quarterback just entered the portal.
yeah.
Well, the rumor is that the Ohio State coach is going to be gone, whether he's going to get fired or he's going to go to a different gig. The whole situation with Texas A&M.
Yeah.
There are so many financial opportunities that these coaches are taking, and they're leveling up their career. Like, going back, this is actually a conversation I just had. That Olenek.
Yeah, look at him, man.
But look, that he's the example of, like, there is no loyalty from a coach's perspective. I was treated like crap by multiple coaches at the Division I level just because I wasn't performing at the level that they wanted. If they got a new job opportunity, which some of them did, and left, there was no loyalty from the coach to
I
me.
get that.
So why does the athlete have to have loyalty to the coach or program?
Well, I'm speaking from a whole different dynamics because I'm the most loyal human being there is. I mean, I still bleed purple and gold, and I wouldn't. I mean, after I retired, I had contacts for people want me to come. I'm like, no, I will. I'm Hananiga. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's it's a whole different world. I'm grasping it now. I'm understanding it, but it's not that I have to agree with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm showing my
Yeah.
age. I'm showing my age a little bit during this because it's just something that is just mind-boggling. And And you're right. It's hard to be a loyal athlete when the coaches aren't even loyal. They'll
Yeah.
jump ship in a heartbeat, unless you're Kurt
Or
Friend.
or they'll jump ship in a heartbeat, or they will get somebody to replace you in a heartbeat.
Yes. Yep.
And that's the hard part, is at the Division I level, it's a business. And
It is.
I know it's a business now, but when I was first getting into the business, I did not know it was a business.
Yeah.
And as somebody who's an adult who knows it's a business, one of the things that I struggle with right now is the recruiting process, because the recruiting process is sunshine and rainbows. Oh, we love you. We love you. You're the best. You're the best. But then when you're there and say you're having one of those moments that we talked about, maybe your family situation maybe your mom or dad passes away. Maybe they're getting a divorce. Maybe you got a girlfriend and they broke up with you. Maybe you're struggling in school, and that coach does not care about that. He
Right.
cares about whether or not you're going to win. And I'm talking about the Big Ten. Okay.
Right.
The Big Ten wrestling coaches are focused on winning. And so when those situations come up in athletes' lives, those coaches do not care. Now, I will say that there's a caveat. Some coaches do. I was not on the University of Illinois roster, and Jim Heffernan still called me to find out how I was doing. Right? He's a good guy. That guy's a good guy, but he's an old school guy, and he ain't in the game right now.
Right.
So the young guys that are coaching, or the younger generation of coaches, it's a dog eat dog world out there. And I just don't think we can give athletes such a hard time on the come up. Like, I know a high school kid who's getting paid next year as a college athlete on top of his scholarship money. It's like, well, if that exists, why shouldn't you do whatever you can to maximize your high school training potential? I mean, if you could buy a house, Marty, by being good at wrestling in high school, shouldn't you just go to the place that you think that's going to make you that good?
Yeah. Well, I agree.
I mean,
I'm trying to accept it, but I mean,
the
football thing right now is just nuts.
Yeah. And I'm with you, like, not necessarily like, because it's culture, right? So it's like, you don't have to agree with the culture aspect of like what we identify, what our goals are, right? Like, I don't think money is the thing that you're supposed to chase. Like, I think money is in many ways corruptible and makes you do or chase things that aren't in your best interest, right? But everybody tells you to go get a career and make money and stuff, and it's like, well, I just know how good I was, and knowing what exists now, I feel like, what an opportunity for some of these kids to put themselves in the best training environment. Because again, I mean, would I have stayed? I mean, I probably would have, because I liked my training situation in high school. I didn't have I guess I'm lucky. I had a good training situation. I had a practice partner in Rob Anderson, and I had the ability to, like I said, drive. Like, I lived in the time where I could go to Hononegah and Harlem and wrestle with kids and stuff like that. So it's just a different time. And so I felt like I had everything I needed to be the best. And, but like, some places are just not the same, right? Like, if you're a kid with potential at Rockford Jefferson, what are you supposed to do?
Right.
Like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know.
No put down on Jefferson. We're just saying it's a fact.
Yeah, it's just, they're not a program that's going to take a kid who's got high level goals, and if anybody did take offense to that, I'd say, then build the program. I don't know. What do you mean? You can do that. Like, it's just not every program is the same. Hononegah is a great program. You can't say that every program is like Hononegah. And so, yeah, it's a tough situation, but I definitely think that, I mean, time will tell how all of it goes. But either way, thanks again for chatting.
See you Wednesday.
We'll see you Wednesday, Marty.
You golfing? Just kidding.
What? Yeah. I want to golf. Yeah. But not till next year.
Yeah, you got it. All right, man.
All right. See ya.